What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Deonte Burton. This is welcome to Change Your Lives. I'm about to get this mixed up and call out Mr. Short Dollar. But we got a great show planned for you guys tonight. I'm sorry I'm running late. Your boy was humping today in the office, and tax season about to start, so I'm kind of swamped and everything. But we got a great discussion to plan for you guys tonight. Tonight we'll be discussing how to have tough conversations with your children because I know a lot of times as a parent, we have issues talking to our kids and going over certain subject matters with our children. I want to have a discussion with you guys tonight in regards to how to have tough conversations with your children. I mean, right now, we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Twitter. But the main hub is the Changing Lives YouTube channel. Let me see. Where we at with this? And that didn't go through everything. Let me see how we doing this. We streaming live here, everywhere with the Facebook, and make sure everything's good with this. Um, I hope everybody's having a good week. Feel free, depending on what platform you guys are on, leave any comments or question anything. In regard to the subject matter we're discussing tonight. Again, we're discussing how to have a tough conversation with your children. And a lot of times, just being a parent myself, being a father of four sons, I understand that there are a lot of conversations that you have to have with your children. Um, I will get this quick disclaimer. I never tell parents how to parent, right? How to parent, what to say to your kid, what not to say to your kid, what's the best way to go about certain things. I've never been that type of person to actually do that. But what I always try to say is, the destination of the end game is always the same. Like, if you want your kid to grow to be a good citizen, good person, that's all that matters, right? Let me make sure I got all this stuff connected. Uh, okay, cool. Everything's connected. I thought I was having little glitches on everything. Remember, guys, regardless of what platform you're looking on, remember the main hub is the Changing Lives hosted by Deonte Burton YouTube channel. If you follow me on TikTok, you should be able to go in the bio, hit the link there. But regardless of what platform, make sure you still go to the YouTube channel. That's where the hub where all the videos that we have saved are on there. And but tonight we're having a cool discussion how to have a tough conversation with your kids. If you haven't noticed, I'm at the lab, I'm at the crib. I'll be back in Misfit Studios next week. My brother DJ Lab been vacationing for a couple weeks for his birthday. Must be nice, but I'm still gonna be here, in the lab, doing my live streams. But again, tonight we're talking about how to have tough conversations with your children. If you have, what we find out real, very quick, the younger our kids are, the more control we have as a parent, right? So you tell your kids, shut up, go to bed, don't listen, don't ask them more questions, whatever, right? And they're young, they can't do anything. But as they grow up and they get something called a brain, they start thinking and processing and having their own ideas and having their own feelings and stuff. That probably is the most wisest approach for a parent to have in regards to just telling the child to shut up and, I don't want to talk to you or anything like that, because the ramifications of that usually, especially with child they grow up, they're going to be more reluctant to share, converse, just do certain things with you as a parent. Doesn't mean they're gonna love you, doesn't mean they're gonna resent you. But from a communication standpoint, it may be kind of stunted with doing that. And what I want to have that discussion tonight in regards to how to have tough conversation with your kids, because a lot of times, because we don't know how to get things across to our children, we avoid the conversation. And so at the end of the day, one thing I always share with people, just because you avoid the problem does not make it go away, right? Just like anything that may be happening with your automobile or the leak up on the faucet. This HD camera be working. Well, I got all kind of little lens on my eye, but just like you might have a leaky faucet or something like that. Just because you don't want to deal with it does not make it go away. And with that said, you still got to address it at some point in time. And then when you decide to finally address it, it might be much worse along than if you probably would have just came, and approached it um, originally, right? So I'm just gonna give you guys a quick, a couple tidbits and stuff. We won't have a long drawn out conversation because I meant to come in earlier, but tomorrow was swamped. But I definitely want to get a video in, get a show in rather. But when we start talking about having them tough conversations with our children, there are four things that I always want to, tell parents or whoever to be the guardian, the person in charge when having these conversations. Four things to always try to look at we're doing. Number one, consider the age of maturity, right? You know your children. Um, just because they may be a little older doesn't mean they process the same. Just because they may be a little younger doesn't mean they won't be receptive to the message you're trying to give. Garner your message to that audience, right? When um, you have, and if you're not for sure, put a couple of feelers out there to kind of say, if I'm honest with them, or if I say certain things, how will my child take it or whatever. But always kind of look at that age and maturity when you want to have them conversations. So that'll give you a good idea if you have to adjust certain things, leave certain things out, be a little bit more direct with your child in regards to just having having those tough conversations. But number one, consider the age and maturity of that child, right? The second thing is, kind of like the kids movie, keep it super stupid simple. The hair wrong late at night. But number two, use simple and direct language. Just try to say, like we say in the business world, say the most with the least. You don't have to go and give a whole big story and going around the whole situation if it's not necessary. If you can just say, listen, daddy's leaving, mommy's left, daddy lost his job, daddy getting sick. And we're talking about tough conversations, right? So some things we can just, you can try to, you've heard, I've seen movies where people just get it talking about the birds and the bees and all this stuff. The kid looking at the parent like, what the hell are you talking about? Try to just keep stuff as simple as direct as possible. We're talking about having tough conversation with our children. We're doing it. That first one being knowing the age and maturity, kind of adjusting the message for them. But try to, again, that simple and direct language. You just want to kind of use the concepts they'll understand, right? Um, Sometimes we can make it more difficult to process. Hell, I know I can be the victim of that. I mean, not the victim, the culprit of that rather. Uh, Sometimes now, with just being in certain business meetings and just over talking. I always say to myself when I'm dealing with my clients. I had a client earlier today. I got a habit of always asking, does that make sense or whatever. Not that, that I think they're dumb or anything like that, but it's more so just to make sure I'm not losing them because I might be giving out too much information to them, and I just try my best to avoid over delivering the message. So when we are talking to our children, we want to make sure that we're keeping it as simple as direct as possible. Also, we also putting things in perspective where we're not over delivering a particular message. What we got here? I don't know what's going on here with my Instagram live. Let me see if we can get this back together. I guess that second one again is, hold on a second. There we go. I guess it's not going to work with putting in a link. We're doing that. Again, we're talking about how to have tough conversations with children. First being those four things I want parents to keep in perspective. Consider the age and maturity of the child. The second being use simple direct language. And the third one, this is where I think a lot of people, not just parents, just in general, people struggle with, and that's the practice active listening. You can't talk and listen at the same damn time. You're not always going to hear what you want to hear when you're listening. You can talk to your child and be having a conversation with them, and they say some shit that's just so below the belt, but they talking, and you got to kind of not. I'm not saying let your child disrespect you. I'm not saying let your child call your name or say something about somebody. I'm not saying that. But when they're talking about a particular subject or situation, you have to let them talk. You got to listen. Now, if they go into a perspective where it may seem like it's being disrespectful. And when I say disrespectful, I'm not saying disrespectful because you don't like it. I'm talking about disrespectful when conversation may get derogatory or the kid may be talking maybe down to the parent or whatever. But if they're actually talking, listen, listen, practice active listening, right? Because just you myself again, just being a business owner, even a consultant perspective, I have to sit there and let people say everything. I can't interrupt them and be interjecting with certain things, and they're trying to give me the information. We did the show where I mean, I can say all the time, people call me and say, hey, hey D, I'm trying to get the company started, get the LLC, and I might go through the different steps they need to do, and it might be 5 steps, and I'm at step 2, or I know how to do that. I'm like, well, why the hell are you calling me? Like, if you know what to do, why are you calling me? But I don't want to do that. But just tell me this or tell me that. Let a person talk, right? You got to be able to let a person talk. That doesn't mean you're not going to hear things that you don't know, that you already know already. I'm sorry. Proactive, active listening, piecing out everything, gathering the information when we're talking about it. Again, we're having these tough conversations. Remember, parents, you're not always going to hear things you like. You're going to hear things that's going to rub you totally the wrong way, right? And you got to be able to sit there and say, well, listen, the bigger picture is to make sure that the information gets processed, my message get delivered to my child and everything. So we just got to be kind of smart about these particular things. I'm the father of 4 sons. 3 of my sons are adults, and I'm raising them their whole lives. Even my youngest son that lives here with me now, he's 14. We have conversations, and when he's talking, I'm like, damn, just be quiet, let him talk, get it out, because it's also kind of like uh, a way to kind of diffuse a lot of stuff. Because at the end of the day, we got to talk to somebody. If it's some child or adult, we got to guard us up, right? And then we have to get to some kind of point where we can feel comfortable. And that goes to the 4th step: be honest but reassuring. Son, I'm listening to you. I'm not, I'm bringing, say what you got to say and everything like that. But we're gonna get through it. And, I'm gonna let you talk. Let them know, hey, listen, I don't agree with that, but hey, listen, I'm with you. We're gonna work to it, because the goal is still to make sure everybody's fine, right? But we always have to say to ourselves that, hey, look, at the end of the day, no matter how I feel or how that person feels, we still gotta get something fixed. I learned that a lot. Over the years, just being on different kind of boards and stuff like that, being on in situations with people I don't necessarily say I don't like, but I might not kick it with them like that, right? But at the end of the day, we got a common goal. The goal is the goal. You got to put your feelings to the side a lot of times. So we start talking about our children. Again, we're talking about having tough conversation with your children. You got to sit there and say, well, look, something wrong with my baby. I want to make sure it's good. Whatever the hell I feel about this situation, I need to shut the hell up, let them talk, let them feel comfortable. Because, you be in situations where your child may want to talk to you about something that happened at school, may have happened with, the other parent, or maybe happened with somewhere else. And if you're quick to snap, or if you're quick to run back into the other person, and I'm not saying keep things from them, but just put your feelings ahead of the child's, and do things that you already sure. Look, man, look, if it's not an emergency, now listen, if somebody, life or death, I can't say, baby, that I ain't gonna go and look into it. But if it's just something how you feel, we can keep between me and you, right? Not that you're hiding anything from anybody, but if it's that on that level, not life or death, not that you need to do, but because at the end of the day, you can have a situation when you talk to your child, and if they know you're gonna repeat it, or they know you're gonna act a certain way, they're just not gonna talk to you, right? And you got to ask yourself, who do I want my child talking to? Me or their stupid ass friend? Or, the stupid family member? You know what I'm saying? Or just whoever you want to have a child. Because let me get this disclaimer. I don't have a problem with my child talking to other people. Like, that's the thing about my other friends and stuff like that, the uncle such and such, one of the other, they might feel as OG, if that person's critical. I don't want you talking, I'm gonna be honest with you. Now I can't control what they do, but I'm not comfortable in just talking to any damn idiot. But if it's something I feel like is a respectable adult um uh that they can confide in. But when I say respectable, let me stop. A credible person that I'm probably still going out a slippery slope with it. But somebody I feel like they got some damn sense. They ain't necessarily got to agree with me, but you just talk to somebody that can really talk to you and just tell you some give you some sound advice. And sound advice doesn't necessarily mean it to be the right thing. You can be, I don't know, or maybe you should go in this direction. But just they can get something off their chest, and it's not going to be anything that's going to be harmful to them to come out of it. I don't have a problem with my kids talking to somebody. But I will say this: I prefer them to come to me. But the end game is for them to kind of get it out or get anything resolved that they need to get resolved. But what happens is if we have our gloves off all the time, but every time my kids want to talk to us, and we're not receptive to it, they're gonna go somewhere else because me not talking to my son does not make their desire to get the shit off their chest go away. It doesn't. So at the end of the day, they still gonna want to have a conversation with me or not. It doesn't matter. As a parent, you don't want to facilitate a situation where they're just not having a conversation with you because you didn't want to talk about it. Because a lot of times I know even myself growing up, it may have been times I might try to holler at moms or whatever. And it's not talking about mom, I love mama, but sometimes you try to talk and the quick response is I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to deal with it. Now I'm done with it. And that rubbed me the wrong. As an adult, you have this conversation with your parent and talk. And you say that rubbed me the wrong way, but at the end of the day, that's I mean, like, give a damn. Just get off your chest. But it still go back to it. That did not stop me when I did want to get something on my chest and talk to a parent or talk to an adult. If they didn't want to talk to me, I still had to get it off my chest, get it out. And again, as a parent, we really don't want to have our child dealing with um, outside influences, negative influences that they can deal with because they're dealing with because we didn't want to talk to them. You see what I'm saying? That's the key thing. Guys, if you got any kind of situations where you had to talk about, a tough conversation with your kid or anything like that, feel free to share it in the chat. Feel free to share it in the chat. Let us know. Let's have a discussion about it. Or if you got any questions or anything like that, feel free to put it in the chat. Let me know what you think about it. Let's see if we got anybody coming in. We got a lot of folks coming in and out and stuff like that. Um, there are certain things I can just think about over years, like having kids. Well, let me go back over those four things to consider when you're talking to your kid in regards to having those tough conversations. First thing, make sure what you want to consider the age and maturity level of that child. They can vary from child to child. They have siblings. Everybody's totally different. So just number one, consider that age and maturity. The second, make sure you use simple and direct language to that child. Use simple and direct language. Don't try to make this super tough conversational speech form. Just make it, stupid simple for that level. The third one, make sure you practice active listening. Active listening. That means you're listening to learn, not listening to talk back, right? Just make sure you're listening and learn. We're talking about having a tough conversation with our kids. And the third one being, be honest, but reassure them, okay? Be honest, be straight up with them like, hey, this is what's going on, but I can reassure you this is the direction we're going to try to work towards, right? We can't guarantee stuff with our kids, but what we can guarantee is that we can try, right? We can promise our behaviors and stuff like that, but we can't necessarily promise outcomes to them, right? And I think a lot of times we can get caught up promising things that we hope will happen, promising things that we wish to happen. But in actuality, we ain't gonna be able to do that, right? So we just got to make sure that we can just assure them that we're gonna try our best to make certain things happen for them. I think that's probably the best route to go about that with everything. Let me look through here, see if anybody got any comments. Y'all bear with me 1 second. Got up my little sip of coffee. Yeah, I'm drinking coffee late at night. Your boy got after this live feed. I got some other work to do too. The other. Let me see nobody. Nobody came on Instagram. Again, tonight we're the show is having tough conversation with your children. Let me see. One of the things, uh, one of the things I always want to say with parents and stuff like that, when you want to have these tough conversations, you say, "Well, look, man, everybody has different ways they want to go about it." I know there's a lot of fathers, a lot of us, we want to have our machismo, and I never get in conversation with parents about this is how you need to do it with your child. I never have, and especially as a man that raised three adult sons and stuff like that. I think all my kids were probably in the same spot. They'd probably tell you I probably handle some things. I have certain things totally different with each one of them, but it probably some things I probably just been straight the same way with them. one big thing that I've always pushed with all four of my children, and my nephew included, is that we always keep everything respectful. We never front on each other. We never, if there's an issue you got with your brother, somebody in your family, we address it at home. We don't do it in front of people. We don't embarrass each other. We don't let people talk about us. Like, again, people, when I say talk about it, you can't control what comes out of somebody's mouth, but you don't, I'm not for entertain no shit where you're talking about one of my family members, a period, right? I can choose to leave. And then that's kind of like those are kind of like rules that me and all my children I've raised them to stick with. So you got to agree with your brother, but at the end of the day, don't sit here and let somebody else disrespect him. What's up, Tom? What's going on with your brother? Um, those kind of things I'm kind of solid on now, and we've kind of stuck with that. But and most important, respect. Like I mentioned before, respect each other. You and your brothers are just like anybody else. You ain't necessarily gonna see eye to eye with everything. This past election was a very that was an eye opener because I see my sons growing to be young men, and they getting different philosophies on how they looking at the world, and just really having conversations where I can see they respected each other's viewpoints. Might not like it, might not agree with it, but they were doing that. Tom say, not much. How you doing, brother? I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Happy holidays to you, man. Hope you doing well. Uh, Tell Creedle I said, what's up, man? If you haven't talked to him, my brother Tom is one of my army buddies. Me, I'm stationed in Germany together from 90. What was Germany? What was it? 96 to 98, 96, 98, something like that, and everything, man. If you talk to Creedle, man, tell him I said, what's up, man? I hope you guys have a happy holiday, and I appreciate you tuning in too, brother. Um, but yeah, those basic rules when I'm starting thinking about when again we're talking about having tough conversation with your children. But those kind of things I was just uh he's on my friends list. Hit him up. I do that, man. I do that, man. And tell him I asked about him. I'm definitely gonna look at your friends list and I catch him. But definitely tell him I said what's up in the meantime, brother. And again, man, I appreciate you tuning in, man. I hope you're doing well too, brother. Um, when we start thinking about those things with our children, because nobody, as a parent, you don't really get a damn blueprint, right? And you a lot of times will look at it and say, well, this is how I raise, this is how I'm gonna raise my children. And that's good foundationally. But when we find out real quick, we start raising our kids like the shit we had to deal with, what they dealing with different. I can only imagine if I had access to a camera phone and a young lady could text me pictures and stuff like that at 16 or 17 years old. My Lord. I'm just saying simple stuff. Because the most we had was beepers, right? So just to be able to do this, the Excel, you even think about just like uh I'm just thinking kid stuff, certain movies, hell, pornography. We were younger. You, the magazine may rotate in the neighborhood, or the VHS tape may rotate in the neighborhood. These damn kids, they just pull up the phone, right? So, they have so much more access to things and see things, and they're able to do so much more. So your principles and rules of how you were raised, some of it just can't be applicable now because things that you couldn't do that may have seemed absurd are standards now, right? Standardized things that are more common rather. And you just gotta be, I mean, you can be blow it off, well, I don't believe in it, this, that, all you want to. Just let me know how that shit work out for you. Just let me know how it work out for you. Um, like I said, foundationally, don't kill, don't steal, don't rape, basic stuff, keep your name good, respect people, those basic stuff, right? The basic morals that you teach a kid, cool. But a lot of stuff, how you do something, man, things have just changed. Things have just changed. And I do think we have to always be in a position where we can diffuse our own feelings. That's why I'm very big on when I talk to my buddies. We had these conversations about it. Yeah, man. Listen, make sure you cool first because I understand how it is because I four boys. I understand how it is to be pissed the hell off and then try a conversation with your child when they did something stupid, right? I understand it, but you got to be put in a position where let me calm down because you don't want to flip the hell out You might handle it a different way than you may have handled with a steady head. You may jump on them, you hurt them. And most importantly, guys, your message, which can be a great message to correct that wrong, can be lost because your anger's so great that you didn't even take time to, really even try to deliver anything to them because you're so pissed off. And we human. We're all human, right? So like, again, I never get in any parent about, man, you did this, you flipped the hell out. That happens. That happens. But that's why it's so important that, hey man, listen, get in a spot where you can chill, get your brain together, get your spirit together, and then try to move accordingly from there. Make a little notes. I'm doing this stuff. Doing this. Again, tonight show we're talking about having tough conversation with your children. Stream live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Twitter. This is Change the Lives, hosted by yours truly, Deonte Burton. If you got any questions or comments, feel free to add them. So I guess everybody have everybody on the live right now have a smooth conversation with their children. Nobody have any issues with talking or going over anything. Just share, just share it with us, guys. It can be, a wink, wink. I heard, or my friend had this situation going on, whatever, right? Just for the conversation, just let us know what may have happened with that. Let me see 1 second. Let me see. Bear with me 1 second. Just trying to make sure I'm looking through all the channels right now. I hope everybody's getting ready for the holidays with everything. Your boy ain't really did too much. Got a couple things together with the kids, as you see. Got a tree up and everything, so that's been pretty cool. Yeah, we're doing that. If you haven't, guys, my YouTube channel, Mr. Short Dollar. We have the $5 ebook, how to 5 things you need to know, ask yourself before you start a business. That's been doing pretty well, and I think it's very informative if you guys, if you would acquire it. And it's also awesome stocking stuffer as well. So there's 5 things to ask yourself before starting a business. I'll put a link to that in the chat as well. But again, the night show, we're talking about having tough conversations with your children, having tough conversations with your children. And I want to give you guys a couple tips that you can use. Now, again, we already talked about the 4 things you need to consider prior to, having that tough conversation. But these are some kind of tips that you can use to help you while you're actually doing those conversations. Hold on 1 second. This the only drawback, one of the major drawbacks outside the chemistry me and my brother DJ Lab have. I'm switching all the boards, going back and forth with everything. But a couple tips I want to give you guys. If you're ever in a position where you got to have that tough conversation with your child, number one, choose a comfortable, quiet spot. And the reason why you want to choose a comfortable, quiet spot, you don't want to be in a situation where you or your child lose focus while having that conversation, right? Put the phones away, the TVs off, and everything. You looking over there, they're drifting over there, and y'all kind of get off of it like, look, man, we need to sit down, feel each other's spirit, go what we need to go over, and we're fully focused and committed to the conversation that we have. We're fully focused and committed to the conversation we're gonna have, because I'm scrolling here and they looking over there and stuff like that, and we kind of talking sideways on some serious shit. It ain't gonna go too far. Look, I need you looking at me, I'm looking at you. We got total respect going. It's nothing where we're in these situations. You shouldn't ask your kids things you wouldn't do. And what I mean by that is you're rolling, scrolling through your damn phone while they talking serious to you, or they're doing the same way, right? So we want to make sure that we're, cool, quiet, comfortable, safe spot where we can just talk and we can just kind of get all those things off our chest and we can be open with each other, right? The second one is, I'm a smooth talking Atlanta guy, so I already kind of familiar with this. Look, kind of let them set the pace, right? Parents let the kids kind of talk how they want to talk. You don't want to be, man, hurry up, man. What do you mean? Pushing them, hurry up. What are you getting at? What do you mean by that? Speak up. We already talked about that. They cut to the chase. Now avoid it. Let them talk. Let them talk. Let them talk. Let them get comfortable and everything like that. If it seems like it's taking too long for them to get to their point, it probably is. But at the end of the day, we're trying to get what? To that point. We're not going to necessarily get to their point at our pace. If that makes sense. We ain't going to necessarily get there because, again, we trying to have these tough conversations with them, but we want to get shit out the way we want to. And that's not necessarily how it's going to go in parenting. Because the kid might want to sit here and just process a little bit more. They want to maybe want to soak in some information. So let them kind of set the pace instead of like, hey man, why it take you so long? Come on, get this. Let them kind of do that, right? Um, it's, I always say it's kind of the same way. I guess if you're trying to court somebody, like my granddad used to say, you're gonna try to, you're gonna you want you want to make sure you're being too pushy, but you get to the right destination at a certain speed, right? And you make sure they comfortable. The same premise you do with your children. You don't want to be pushing certain ways and forcing them, you know, to do certain stuff. We're having a tough conversation with them. So you're gonna kind of let that, just get in their comfort zone for them to be able to let the guard down. Um, we can use books or stories sometimes as tools. Some maybe even sometimes with games and stuff like that to kind of get it out. If your kid is, if they're younger and you want to have a story or something you want to have with them, that's cool. It might be a little older. Hey man, you want to play a little Call of Duty? Hey, you want to go work out and go take a job? We put gloves on, box for a little bit, and talk while we're doing that. I know I said a quiet, comfortable setting, but again, we want to whatever we got to do to get there to do it. We we got to understand as parents that our minds are just that, our minds, and what we think is um, easy to get past. That's just what we think. And that was like I was mentioning earlier. Um, in my days, I grew up in the '90s. We ain't had no cell phones, man. That's all we had. Cell phones. I mean, not cell phones, beepers. We had beepers. I apologize. We had beepers. That was it. I'm just thinking from a technological standpoint, that's all we had. Wasn't no texting, wasn't no email or nothing. You had your beeper, and hopefully you had enough quarters or something so something go off. If you ride and pull over and make a phone call, right? The things that kids have access to now is immensely different. And with that said, so comes the actual uh, ability to process all those particular things that they have coming along with it. Okay. The another thing to make sure to help you with having those conversations is just revisit the topic if needed. Sometimes you can burn yourself out. Most importantly, burn your damn kid out, poking and poking and poking and poking. And it's just like, Dad, I can't talk right now. Dad, I don't want to do it. This shit might be so much pressure with them. They just can't do it right now. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Give them a minute. Hey, give your damn self a minute, right? Because you might not be able to handle that shit they tell you, right? So if it's something like, man, listen, let's talk about it tomorrow. Let's come back with it next week, or depending on, I'm sorry, where they're at with everything, they might just can't handle that conversation right now. You're like, we can be the same way. Sorry, I'm looking on here with this. We can be the same way with certain things. We gotta be honest with ourselves how we doing it too, right? So I just want you guys kind of consider those things I had just brought up. But 1 second, guys. Uh, Another thing I want to see. Another thing I want you guys to look at. We start looking at this, going through those and having those conversations. Sorry, going through that and having those conversations. Guys, ain't nobody got any comments to add? Anything that you had a tough conversation with your kid, the girlfriend, the school, you know, didn't make the basketball team or something like that. Nobody had any tough conversation with their kids where you had to just be like, hey man, look, you had a world of shit on them and they just, couldn't talk. Because I do feel like I'm gonna be very honest with you. I think a lot of kids. I was looking at the college football portal, right? Transfer portal. And as a person coached football for 22 years, I had a son play Division One SEC ball. That's currently a high school coach now. Um, and I'm sitting there looking like the kids to leave. And my philosophy, I don't know everybody have different reasons with doing it, but I think a lot of things had to deal with. Um, Sometimes people can't handle adversity, being able to compete. Um, this particular year, you go to school on a 4 year scholarship, you're there 4 years, right? So 45 years, and you're gonna go through some stuff. You're gonna go through some competition, you're gonna go through some highs and lows. I even see that with the commitments when the kids were committing to school last week. And they was like, I'm just gonna be here for the next 3 to 4 years. Like, who the hell say you're gonna be there for 5 or 6? And it's just that whole thought process because one thing about it, and I look at it uh, with that recruiting process, is that when schools bring kids in and they bring 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 3 receivers, 8 or 9 linemen, they're not telling one kid they're bringing him. I'm bringing you in to back him up. I'm bringing you in to play behind him. They're telling everybody the same pitch. You coming here so you can come play here. And a lot of them get there and they're really not mentally prepared to compete because they have never had to do that before. They were just better than everybody else, right? And that was a glaring thing to me because as soon as it doesn't work out and you got 4 or 5 of you in the room and you have to actually work for it. Now the other stuff coming in. What did you remember? Can you keep doing this kind of same stuff at a high level? Parents don't see you make mistakes, right? So all this kind of stuff come up in, and kids just leave. Like that ain't how life works, right? My oldest son had called me when he was having a rough time as a sophomore year. Like, hey man, shit, your brother in your room. Like I don't know what to tell you. Your ass can't come back here. Like unless somebody, somebody coach would have said you can't be here. You come on back, son. But you competing, man. You can't compete with 4 or 5 people for a position. I don't know what the hell you're gonna do. You got 400 or 500 people you got to compete for a job. But it's just that mental preparedness, right? So that's one thing I was just looking at having tough conversations sometimes with your children, man. Like you got to sit here and say, like, look, man, there's a lot of you out there, and everything that you had planned in life, she just ain't gonna work out like that. It just ain't gonna work out like that. When you see your kids compete and do certain things, they may have a spelling bee. They may have had a sporting event, maybe a science project or whatever we're doing. You just want them to be able to give 150% because that's what they can give, right? Give their best, and they still may not win. They still may not have the best, and you got to teach your child, hey man, listen, that's how life is. That doesn't mean that you're no good. That doesn't mean that that person is better than you. That means what they did in this particular instance may have been better at this particular time. It may have been better at this particular time, but it's definitely not necessarily mean you got to sit here and just quit. Because we know once we quit, it's over. Once we quit, we can't go back from it. What we got here, Let's Talk American Radio. Always a great topic. Do you think the youth of today are more mature for at an early age to discuss tough topics as compared to previous generation? It depends. It depends. Again, the question is, do you think the youth of today are more mature at early age to discuss the tough topics as compared to previous generations? It depends. And the reason why I say it depends is because there are conversations you can have with the youth today that you couldn't have in previous generations, especially from a technological standpoint. Like I just mentioned before, we didn't have cell phones, emails, social media, things like that. Um, so those kind of things, because they're more familiar with it, there are probably things that you probably could be a little bit more blunt. Previous generations were doing stuff. Uh, um, Younger generation now have had to deal with COVID and other kind of stuff. Do I think my kids are a lot more mentally weaker than me? Um, some stuff, but some things, like I said, they say with my son. I never played collegiate football. I had a son go to office training school. I'm just thinking of things that my children did that I didn't do. Shit is very tough, right? That's 2 of them. One play SEC ball, one's a military academy. That shit's tough. That shit's tough. There are some things that I went through that, I was like, man, they couldn't go through that. But that's shit they don't went through that I have not done, right? And I'm just thinking about even some of the youth programs my third son went through. Like there are things that they've done that I haven't. So it just depends. It just depends. We start looking at it. And I think sometimes as a parent, Our job, we want to help our kids develop and we want to help them be better, but we also can damn hinder them too, putting pressure on them and saying things that they don't do, as opposed that they don't do that we've done before, but don't acknowledge some of the shit that they do now that we have we just didn't deal with it, right? I that's very sick. My oldest son is extremely mentally tough. This is shit I had me like, man, that's pretty damn stupid, but very smart guy. Second son the same way. They've done things with that. But do I think they could have grew up on the west side of Atlanta and mentally tough to do that? I doubt it. I doubt it. But they still did some shit I couldn't even imagine me doing that. I think it is um they're very tough. So it just depends. It just depends. That's a good question. But it just depends. And with that said, I'm very conscious of that before I start looking at today's generation. Because these kids today, man, um, one thing about it with the good and bad, the way they think we can just talk about millennials. Um, there are so many pros to how proactive they are with using technology, with doing certain stuff. Some things that I think can bite them a lot in the butt because what I've noticed a lot with younger people, to be totally honest, which is that it's like they're oblivious that they're gonna get old one day. And when I say that, again, I grew up in the '90s. I'm 47. I'm probably at that tail end of people, going into the job force, looking at okay, pensions and retirement, right? That probably maybe fades out. I'm thinking maybe 40, but I'm thinking probably at 45. People looking, okay, let me work. And anything younger than that, definitely younger than 40, like they just working, right? And it's like that oblivious that they're gonna get old one day, right? They're gonna get rich now and just think that they can function at 30 at a high level forever, right? And that's just not how the reality of life. And I think that's probably one of the drawbacks I think with millennials. Just we take the drugs and all the other stuff out the way and not looking at that. But I just think that mindset, one part of it is cool. Like, hey, I like to go get it, but just the glaring, hey man, it's not gonna be like this forever, right? You're not gonna be able to function without naps. You're not gonna be able to keep walking around doing all this kind of stuff without your knee and get back hurt. Little stuff that can mean a lot later on down the road. So, um, yeah, though, having those conversations, being able to keep your audience, i.e., your kid, where they're listening to your conversation as opposed to getting defensive every time you might have something to say to them. Okay. Again, tonight show we're talking about having tough conversations with how to have tough conversations with your children. Let me see if I got anything came in. So again, if you guys got any things that may have happened with you or your children, anything like that, that you may want to share in regards to having a tough conversation, please share it. Please share it with us right now. Let me look at a couple things right here. Um, okay, that's not that. And let me see right here. Okay. Hope everybody getting ready for the holidays and stuff. And doing this. What's we gonna add? Anything here? Cool. Um, and with that said, guys, we get ready to wrap everything up and stuff. And I know like we have different situations where it may be divorce, bullying, expectations. There's a lot of tough conversations we can have with our children. And at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure, like any other parent, you want to make sure that you can help your kids get through anything that they can get through. But a lot of times we are what we are in regards to what we're able to provide, right? And sometimes we can overlook at who we talking to as opposed to what we want to have happen for our children. You know, you may not concede because you don't let anybody push over you. You might can't even process why your kid would let somebody do that. You may never be the type of person that will be slack at work or miss certain things, but you really can't even process why your child would even consider being late or whatever, right? And you know you told them. You know you told them. You might have gave a boxing lesson to in the yard. You may have actually over explained them, work ethic and things like that, but they still doing something else, right? And sometimes we gotta take ourselves out the box. Why the hell if I'm doing this way a certain way and moving a certain way, why can't you do it? And to be honest, I've been guilty of that my damn self. Been guilty of that my damn self because you just figure sometimes not that we being stupid, it's just that we are um it's hard to see it in a different light. It's hard to see, especially with someone that you raised, uh, to see why can't you move this particular way, right? And we had them tough conversations with our kids. We just need to make sure again we doing those four things we discussed earlier. That being, um, give a damn things. Remember who you talking to. Consider that age and maturity. Consider it. Don't have the grown man conversation with the 4 year old. You know, um, up to a certain extent, may not never come. Some kids don't want to hear shit you talking about their mom or their dad. So you need to kind of just keep all this stuff in mind when we have some of these tough conversations. You need to make sure that when you're doing it, you're being simple and direct. Speaking to them in that person. If you speaking Tony, speaking Susie, right? Because we start wanting to use certain words, certain concepts that our kids are not mature enough to process, or we lose our message in our delivery because we're trying to sound a certain way. We've got to just think about it because at the end of the day, we want to do what? Make sure that message get to our children, right? We want to make sure that happens. Third thing, make sure we practicing that active listening. Shut the hell up. Again, I ain't saying let your child disrespect you. I ain't saying you're letting your child wolf and all this other kind of stuff. But we can't sit here and have a tough conversation with our kids if we doing all the damn talking and we not doing any of the listening, right? It just ain't gonna happen. You can tell them, shut the hell up, I don't want to hear this and all this other kind of stuff, and go do this, go do that. Remember, the problem does not disappear because we didn't want to deal with it. The problem does not disappear because we didn't talk. The problem does not disappear with the kid not getting a solution. The problem is still there, regardless of what the hell you wanted to do, regardless how you felt about the question or the situation. The problem is still there. Okay, you gotta always kind of keep that in consideration. The problem is still there, right? So we have to make sure that we can practice that active listening. Get yourself parents. Let's go for us. We talking about tips to get the kids kind of cool. Make sure your ass in a cool state because you might hear some stuff that you like. Oh Lord, I didn't know my son was doing. I didn't know my daughter was doing that. I didn't know they were going in that direction. And we got to be kind of mentally prepared for that. That shit can hurt us, right? That stuff can put us down for a while. So we want to try to get in the right kind of headspace prior to the conversation to be able to receive it. Because again, we want to make sure our babies are good and everything like that. Again, we're talking about having tough conversations with your kids. Parents, that's a key thing. You need to make sure you're in a good headspace to have certain conversation with your kids. Because your kids can lay some stuff on you that they have been doing, they have been thinking about, they have been exposed to. It's nothing illegal, but it can just throw your ass off. Like, where the hell you get that from, right? Shit, they got the world at their hand with this little thing right here. They got the world at their hand, and I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know that doesn't mean that you're gonna like what you hear. And that goes for all of us, me, you, me included, right? And the last thing we're talking about things to consider is making sure with your kids when you talk to them, you're being honest, but you reassure them that you guys will work. You be honest with them. Remember, we can't promise solutions. We can't promise outcomes, but we can promise I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna try. You know what I'm saying? I give it a shot. I can promise it. I can't promise it's gonna make you feel better, and I can't promise it's gonna work. I can't. It just don't work like that, right? Um, okay. Here, open door policy. Does it work or too risky? Many parents debate the topic. Again, the question is open door policy. Does it work or too risky? Many parents debate the topic. Um, I've been the type of person, I got an open door policy with doing it. I don't necessarily say it's too risky with doing it, but again, let me get that quick disclaimer. The way I run my house is the way I run my house. Do I think it works for everybody? No, because we can be real with ourselves. We having this conversation, but there are a lot of parents that can't handle their kids saying some stuff to them, and I'm not saying they're respectful, but if their kids saying we're talking about how they doing in school, they may be talking about sexuality, they may be talking about their health, they may be talking about their fears and stuff. They don't want to get bullied. They don't want to. They're not doing certain things, anything, and the parent might can't handle that conversation, right? And so we have to make sure that as a parent, like, look, man, I ain't the best with doing this. I might need to get a little help. Get help might be a neutral third party, a counselor, therapist, things like that. But I've been the type. I've had an open door policy with my kids. I feel real good about doing it. I'll be lying to you if I just say like, hey, sometimes I had a conversation and that shit and have me like, Lord, I wish I had not said, come on in and let's talk. But it happens. But because at the end of the day, I'm still go back to what I said before. I'd rather my kids be sitting there talking to me than me talking to their still ass friends, get some dumb ass advice. So the shock, pain, discomfort that I might get from having those certain conversations with my children to me is worth it, as opposed to me not having any conversation with them at all. Just speaking for myself. It's just Deonte, just speaking for Deonte, right? So I appreciate that question. Let me see here. Is anything else with that said? But yeah, guys, I'm gonna get ready to wrap everything up. Again, the night discussion was um, how to have tough conversation with your children. Remember to change your lives. Hosted by yours truly, Deonte Burton. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you go to the YouTube channel. Change the lives, hosted by Deonte Burton. Take advantage of all the great information. We talk about personal development, professional development, parenting. Give everything from the perspective of me being a single black father, single dad, doing handling certain situations with my children. So I kind of give, bear from that perspective. But I've been an active coach for 20, coach 22 years. I also been an entrepreneur in business over 23 years. Do want to give you guys quick great news. They did announce yesterday. Your boy is again the treasurer for the 100 Black Men. I was elected treasurer for the 100 Black Men of South Metro. So they got your boy back in the fold. So I'm excited about that. We can kind of get some things back to rocking and rolling. I've been a part of the organization about 8 years now. Previous treasurer, now back at the fold of doing that. So I'm super excited about getting those things together. So that's about it in my world. We got training starting soon, tomorrow with the tax season. Got the preparers hired and everything. Everything's going good. Working on my 2025 goals for next year. With doing that. So super excited, man. If you guys got any questions or comments right quick before we wrap it up, let me know. Let me know. Don't see anything. You don't see anything in the TikTok, the Twitter, the Instagram. I don't see anything. But look, man, from the bottom of my heart, I want to tell you guys, I really appreciate y'all. Thanks for all the love and support. Been working hard and chopping wood with everything. If you did come in the tail end or the middle of the show, you want to add anything in the comments or anything that may come to your mind later on, feel free to leave your comments in the comment section of the video and stuff. But again, go to the channel, subscribe, and also go to my YouTube channel. You need a financial entrepreneur fix. Mr. Short Dollar on YouTube. Make sure you go there, subscribe to the YouTube channel, take advantage of all the great information there. Look, 2024 is almost over. We are going to have the goal setting video for 2025 coming up in the week after next. But we're going to do a lot more live feeds and everything before then. But listen, again, everyone, love you all. Take care, be safe, and I'll talk with you soon.